Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Seth Greene. Today, I've got the good fortune to be with Steven Rothberg from collegerecruiter.com. Steven, thanks so much for joining us.
Seth, awesome to be here today. Looking forward to the conversation.
Likewise. So tell everybody, what is collegerecruiter.com?
Sure. It is a job search site for students, recent grads, and other what we call early career candidates, people with 0 to 5 years of experience. Employers advertise their job openings with us. We're global. We help more than 1 million early career candidates a month find hopefully great new jobs.
Okay, so over 1 million candidates a month. That's amazing, and we're going to dive into that. But first, we got to back up a little bit. I'm sure you didn't wake up at the age of 8 and say, I want to be in the recruiting space. How did College Recruiter get started?
Very accidentally. So the earliest origins were, I was in an undergraduate business program in Winnipeg, Canada, where I grew up. And one of my best friends was running a little micro business, published things like calendars, coupon books, basically sold the advertising, gave away the publications for free. I started a micro business that did the same sort of thing, publishing campus maps. I checked with him first and he said, knock yourself out. So I wasn't like going into competition with my best friend without him being okay with it. And the campus maps were a publication that did a really nice job of hitting the incoming students, the freshmen, and a really terrible job of hitting just about anybody else on campus, faculty, staff, people who were graduating, et cetera. But what those graduates needed more than anything else were jobs. And so I added on an employment magazine in the mid-90s that called College Recruiter. And then this thing called the internet came along. So basically took the employment magazine with articles, job ads in it, and moved it online as collegerecruiter.com.
Well, I'm sure the longer version of that could probably fill a book if it hasn't already. So
it would be a fantastic book to use as a doorstop. Yes.
I think you're selling yourself short. What, talk a little bit, over 1 million applications, 1 million folks a month.
Yeah.
How are you getting that many people to the site, let alone signing up?
Yeah. So we're global. We don't operate in countries like Syria, Iran, North Korea, Russia, et cetera, but UK, Canada, the European Union, et cetera, just about any kind of country that you can think of. We have employers looking for candidates there. So that helps. The way that we operate is a little bit differently than a lot of other job search sites like an Indeed, a ZipRecruiter, a LinkedIn, et cetera, in that we've built a network of, you might call them affiliates or partner sites. When an employer posts a job to College Recruiter, then our automated systems will have a look at that job and it'll do things like, this is a marketing job in Stamford, Connecticut. And so it's going to automatically send that job out to sites that we partner with. Some of them might be college and university career service office sites. might be scholarship sites, might be other general job boards, whatever. And so the job will run on College Recruiter as well as on our partner sites. Candidate sees the job wherever they're looking. They click on the apply button, and then they go directly to the employer site where hopefully they apply. That click to the employer site from when the candidate sees the job and then goes over to the employer site, that's what we count as for that million number. It's a more conservative number than what a lot of sites do. A lot of sites will say, well, if you come to our site and do nothing, we're going to count you as a visitor, right? If you come to our site and read an article on how to write a resume, we're going to count you. And that's fair. I mean, as long as you're kind of clear about what that number is, to us, somebody who doesn't take any action towards applying to a job is of no value to any of our employer clients. And that's why we count the million number, because every single one of them have taken some action.
Which is absolutely awesome. How do you build a tech stack that can handle a million visitors actually doing something?
Yeah, we first of all, you say that the founder, this guy named Steven, it just has no access to that tech stack whatsoever. And so that helps tremendously. And you know, we can talk about it later, but I think we all need to sort of understand where our limitations are. I'm not a developer. I shouldn't be touching any code. The foundation of our site, we have a team of developers. We also do some contracting out. We license some software. So for example, if you were to come to College Recruiter and run a search, you know, I'm looking for a sales job in Los Angeles and hit search, that search software, we license that from Google. So we're using the world's best search software. The actual site is hosted by AWS. Years ago, because we've been in business for so long, we actually owned our own servers. Doesn't scale very well. As your traffic goes way up or goes way down, you're never or almost never going to be in that sweet spot where you sort of have the right servers. Most high traffic sites now use AWS or Google or Microsoft's hosting platform, because it allows you to really scale up and scale down. Seasonal promotions, if you run an ad on the Super Bowl or something crazy like that.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I don't know if you're allowed to share this information, of those million interested visitors,
Yeah.
how many of them are like getting on a list somewhere, opting in for something, getting into some type of database?
Sure. I think the best way of me answering that is to sort of share what some industry numbers are. And I think for a lot of your listeners, they're probably going to be like getting a Q-tip out to make sure they've got the wax out of their ears, because they're probably going to think they didn't hear it right. But when a candidate goes to an employer's website or a job board to apply, only about 1 out of 20 candidates that look at the ad will actually apply. It's about 5%. It's shockingly low.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But for those of your listeners that run e-commerce sites, where they're selling, you know, books or Beanie Babies or flowers or whatever online, they won't be shocked by that number. The vast majority of people that go to us to a e-commerce site never buy anything. And
yeah, I think those numbers, like 1% is good.
Yeah, 1%. Amazon, I remember years ago, I saw they were at like 2 point something percent, and they were like twice as good as their closest competitor. And it was like, wow. So, you know, if you're at 5%, some people will say, well, that means that 95% of the people going to your site are not well served. And I think there's a good argument for that. Why are employers not getting even 5%, or why are they only getting about 5% of people to apply? And a lot of times it just has to do with the pay, the location of the job, the way it's described, the requirements, whatever. It's a little bit like window shopping. You know, if you're in the mood to go and buy a new suit, you're going to look through a whole bunch of suits before you find one that you even want to try on. And then you're going to try that one on and probably five others. That's kind of like you've applied to five jobs. And maybe you're going to buy one of those. Maybe you'll be hired. It's somewhat similar. The stats that we see are similar overall. We get a lot of data back from the employers that advertise their jobs with us. Some of the employers for like really fairly like low skilled jobs, think like retail cashier, servers in a restaurant, warehouse work, that kind of stuff. Jobs that most people are qualified to do. Whether they're interested or not is another issue. But you don't have to have an engineering degree. You don't have to have 7 years of experience to do it. Those jobs tend to have a higher application rate. 10, 15, sometimes even 20% is normal. But if you're looking for like a nurse anesthetist in a rural area, maybe only 0.2% of those people will apply.
That's fascinating. So I'm just wondering, because with that volume of traffic, you're, in addition to being a placement board or a recruiting firm, you're also could be a data company.
Yeah. So now you're getting into an area where about 2.5 years ago, we made a really difficult, highly unusual decision. We decided about 2.5 years ago that we were going to expand globally. We were pretty much just in the US. We were doing a little bit of business in Canada. And we had more and more customers. Most of our customers are large employers, Fortune 500, government agencies, that kind of stuff. More and more of them were saying things to us like, hey, you're helping us in the US, maybe you're helping us in Canada. We also have positions available in the UK. Can you help us with that? We also have positions available in Spain. Can you help us with that? Australia, New Zealand, whatever. And so we made a decision to go global. The problem with that we had to deal with was there are now about 190 privacy laws around the globe. And some of them are written in ways that you literally cannot comply with one if you are complying with another. Now, the very biggest companies, the Indeeds, the LinkedIns of the world, they're big enough that they can have a whole team monitoring the privacy laws, understanding them, figuring out how to comply with them, actually writing the code. So what a lot of those bigger companies do is they actually have different versions of their websites for different markets. For a relatively small company like us, it's just not feasible. It's not cost effective. So what we did is we decided to go privacy first. We do not collect personally identifiable information on the candidates using our site. So if Seth comes to our site and wants to apply to a job, we send you over to the employer's site. That's where you hand over your information. That's where you put your email address in, your name, upload your resume, et cetera, and apply there. And then the company, the employer, will usually send us a signal. There are a variety of technical ways they do that to tell us that click converted into an application. And then that we won't know that it's Seth, but we'll know that it's that click. And then we can kind of figure out on our end what kinds of candidates are more likely to apply for what kinds of jobs. And so we send more of those, let's call them good candidates, to that job, and fewer of the, let's call it, bad candidates. You're not a bad candidate. You're just unlikely to apply.
And then, so I get that you're not reselling data, which has obviously strengths and potential weaknesses as well. How many, am I allowed to ask how many candidates, how many visits have you had total? And more importantly, how many like job applications have you generated?
Yeah, so visits a month, our primary focus is on that number of how many candidates will go over to the employer site.
Yes.
Right.
Because you don't control whether they actually apply or not.
Correct. We do know from the employers giving us feedback that the vast majority, like for the million or so that we send over to employers a month, we will get data back from employers on most of those. On, did this person apply? Did that click convert into an application? Did it not? It's roughly 5 to 10% convert into an application. We do not sell the candidate data. There are definitely job boards that do that. Some job boards will do that only to employers. So, if you wanted to go to, say, like a Zipper Recruiter and buy resume searching access, you can do that, and you can search the resumes. That's selling data. Contact the candidates. Hey, I'm looking to hire somebody like you. Are you interested? Other sites like LinkedIn, they're not exclusively a job board. So you can go to LinkedIn and you can buy data there. You can upgrade to a premium subscription and get access to more profiles, and then say, hey, I've got a commercial real estate firm, and I think that you might be in the market to, move your shop to my mall, whatever. There are some job boards that are looking at the prospect of AI and how hungry the AI companies are for all kinds of data. And they're looking at selling resumes, contact information, behavior on the site, which jobs do you go to, which jobs do you apply to, etc. We are not doing that. We will not do that, even if we wanted to, which we don't, because we're not collecting that personally identifiable information. There'd be nothing there for us to sell. I think that all organizations need to understand that when they start to sell their user data like that, that they really run the risk of creating a distrust with their customers. If I come to your site to get information on a loan, or what's the pricing at your restaurant, or whatever, I don't want you selling my data for some other purpose. But if you're a real estate agent and you've got a partnership with a title company, and you've said to that potential customer, hey, do you also want us to refer you to this title company that we've had good experience with? Great. And then you can get your lead, fee from that, like a referral fee. That, I think, is fine, as long as your customer knows it.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, you've helped literally millions of people, and I would imagine tens of thousands, if not more, of employers. What's your biggest challenge now?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, this sort of the, like, if I wake up in the middle of the night and, like, I'm worried about something, I think it is primarily about how disruptive AI is being in just about every kind of occupation, every kind of industry. That the changes that we're seeing in our industry, I think, are typical for a lot of others. And it's so hard to know, where are we going to be a year from now? Where are we going to be 5 years from now? Which jobs are going to prosper? Which jobs are going to be, the thing of the past? And that's making it hard. I see more opportunities in our industry than I see threats, though. So, like, one thing that we're starting to see in the job search industry, like for job boards in particular, is you can use essentially like a chat bot to query, and you can ask the AI system, which employers are getting a really good response rate to their ads and why. And it can comb through a massive amount of data and come back to you with a plain language answer really quickly. Employer XYZ has seen a 28% spike over the last 3 days in the number of candidates viewing their postings, but a 17% decline in the number of candidates who are applying, right? That allows you to kind of zero in. It's like, what's going on here? Maybe the employer rewrote their postings to make them more attractive to people to look at them, but there's something in the posting that's really turning them off, and so they're not applying. And then you can go back to your employer customer and let them know that.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
So my role in the company is what EOS, the Entrepreneur's Operating System, that we work
run
with.
on EOS.
Yep, it's fantastic, and I know you've talked about it a bunch of times. It's not quite a cult, but there's a little bit of elements like that. But So we're an EOS company. We've done it for, I think we're 6, maybe 7 years. I'm what's called the visionary. And so the visionary for most organizations might be like the chairman. Like you don't have sort of those day-to-day responsibilities, certainly not like hour to hour. It's my job to have my head up, looking at what other industries are doing, looking for trends, and then bringing that into our company. I think I'm pretty good at that. And then so it's allowed me to really focus on what I'm good at and what I like, and get rid of the stuff that I'm just not good at. When I was younger, I used to feel like, hey, I can do math well, and so I should be doing a whole bunch of this stuff. The fact that I didn't like it was kind of irrelevant. But as I've gotten older, I'm 58, I get to choose more about what it is that I do and where I can add the most value. So that visionary piece, being on podcasts, speaking at conferences, writing content for our site, that's really fun.
I mean, that sounds amazing. So for our folks watching or listening, where is the best place for them to go if they are either looking for a job or looking to hire the right people?
Sure. collegerecruiter.com.
All right. This has been Seth Greene with Steven Rothberg of collegerecruiter.com. Steven, thanks so much for joining us.
Cheers, Seth. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.